Hey guys, you are listening to and watching your latest episode of K100 Sports. This episode is last week's episode, and this week's episode will be out in a couple of days. This is because I severely underestimated how long it would take to recover from this flu. I'm still cold in my own house, which is fully heated, and that's why I'm wearing this. So I'm still not fully recovered. I've still got mucus and whatnot behind my nose and mouth and in my throat. I'm still getting headaches. I've still got ringing in my ears. I have loads of stuff. I have about half the stuff that I had before, including a horrible cough. But I'm walking and I'm talking. And honestly, I wasn't walking and talking before when I had it. So this was a different kind of flu. But I am now able to do the video, although looking like I'm outdoors when I'm indoors. So this is your mid-season report, and not a lot has changed really when it comes to as a result of us waiting 4 or 5 days, because despite Liverpool's result against Man United at the weekend, despite the performance of all three of the players, in fact, who are up for contract negotiations, particularly Trent Alexander-Arnold, who was extremely poor, almost poor to the level where suitors like Real Madrid might be reconsidering buying him. He was that bad because it's such a big game. It's the two biggest clubs in England and there's a bigger magnifying glass on it. So maybe they do walk away from that situation. Maybe they really do turn their attentions towards Diego Dallo of Man United, because that's apparently the guy who's second on their list. That's the type of fullback that they want, someone who will get forward. And in both instances, neither of them are renowned for their defending, but it kind of shows what Real Madrid want to be if they're trying to acquire both those players, if that's number 1 and 2 on their shortlist. But regardless, Trent had a terrible game. I don't think Virgil was that good. Mo Salah was ineffective. Usually he owns Manchester United, has an incredible record, has scored more goals than any other player against United, but they underperformed at the weekend. However, not only are they too far clear, I don't see anything coming from the chasing pack. There's no challenge from Arsenal. It's too late for City. Chelsea have dropped off. I don't think Nottingham Forest are going to do a Leicester. So I think Liverpool is safe based on the fact that there is no chasing pack whatsoever. So even if they do fumble and stumble in the second half of the season, and they do have some difficult games, particularly away from home, I don't believe Liverpool are going to blow this at this juncture. Mo Salah will be player of the season and Liverpool will be champions. It's the top 4 that's a lot more interesting. Arsenal were very much a different team without Odegaard, and now they look like a different team without Bukayo Saka. And also the defence isn't what it was last season. We've seen Chelsea have this significant drop-off. Nottingham Forest are massively overperforming to the point where they've already surpassed their entire total for last season. We have Newcastle, who are the informed team in the Premier League, who, in my estimation, could easily chase down all of these teams and finish second. And then you have Man City, who we're not really talking about, but they do come into this weekend with back-to-back wins. And for me, I'm not convinced by those wins. West Ham had chances to score, and West Ham are themselves performing so poorly that their manager is likely to be sacked today. As of time of recording, he's still the manager, but I do believe Lopetegui will go in the next 24, 48 hours. So that kind of tells you where West Ham are at. They just got beaten at home 5-0 by Liverpool, and then they got trounced by Man City, but still had chances in the game. Leicester had plenty of chances in the game. It's completely fraudulent from my perspective that Man City go into this weekend with back-to-back wins and back-to-back clean sheets. The wins, okay, they probably did deserve to win both of those games, but to go in with clean sheets, that's very fraudulent, and I'm still not convinced that this team are back. They certainly won't challenge for the title, and they might not even finish in the top 4. Now, the odds for the top 4 at the moment tell us that they strongly fancy Chelsea and Man City to get in behind Arsenal. Arsenal are priced up at 1-33. Chelsea are at 1-2, and Man City are also at 1-2. Now, behind that pack, you have Newcastle at 6-4, who have obviously moved way up the table and are in form, and their odds have shortened as a result. And then you still have Nottingham Forest, who are at 3-1. After Forest at 3-1, you then get Aston Villa all the way down at 14-1. You have Manchester United at 50-1. And I'm missing some teams, but I'm just kind of hitting this most significant points here. And you have Tottenham at 80-1. Who would have thunk at the halfway point when we were doing this mid-season report that United would be out of 50s, Tottenham would be out of 80s, and Villa, even Villa, would be 14-1. I don't think Villa's position is poor to the point where it does represent a 14-1 price. So there could be some value on that selection, although I do believe that the top four will come from the top six in the market. I do believe Chelsea will recover from this blip and they will get in. And then I'm not really sure whether it will be Newcastle or Man City. The good thing is that it doesn't really matter. It only matters from a betting perspective because the market is labelled as the top four. With the way that the Champions League has played out so far, with Bologna and RB Leipzig massively underperforming for the Bundesliga and for the Bundesliga and La Liga. For Serie A, I'll get it right. Bologna from Serie A and Leipzig from the Bundesliga, nothing to do with La Liga. With these teams underperforming and not even looking like they'll make the top 24, at the moment, English clubs are comfortably securing a fifth position in the Champions League. They all look like they will go through to at least having qualification matches. Obviously, we're talking about Aston Villa, we're talking about Man City, we're talking about Liverpool, we're talking about Arsenal. They're not going to drop out of this top 24, so they will have qualifying matches. Liverpool are likely to win the entire thing. What that means remains to be seen. If that is going to be some kind of major feat, they will be installed as the number one seed. But we'll see what matches that draws up. That's supposed to give you an easier path moving forward. But I don't think many teams really genuinely care about finishing in the number one spot or 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's a case of let's finish inside the top 8. If we've really made a balls up of this, let's make sure we finish in the top 24, which is obviously applicable to a team like PSG, where it would be disastrous to not finish inside the top 24. And teams like Bologna and Leipzig, they have a lot of work to do to even do that. I mean, Leipzig have a 100% losing record at the moment. So England are going to get 5 clubs. So out of the top 6 in the market, only one of them, in my opinion, will miss out. And the books feel at this moment in time that's most likely to be Nottingham Forest. But I would not disregard Aston Villa being able to make a run and get themselves into that top 5, because I do think at some point there's going to be a drop-off from Nottingham Forest and not going to be Leicester. I've already got a pending future, which I'm already knowing I'm going to lose because I took Nottingham Forest off the back of their good start to finish in the bottom half of the table. I was able to get a very good price on Nottingham Forest to finish in the bottom half. I just felt it was automatic that the likes of Villa, Tottenham, Manchester United would improve. I thought amongst Brentford, Brighton and Bournemouth, one of them would, or even West Ham, would also either improve or maintain and occupy one of the remaining spots in the top half, and ultimately Forest would drop off. That's not the case. Nottingham Forest now will finish in the top half. That will be one of the few futures that I lose. Fortunately, as I'm recording this show, my futures portfolio for the soccer season, not just the Premier League, but across Europe, is looking very, very good. That was in contrast to how my NFL futures looked a few weeks ago. But through us adding futures throughout the season and almost hitting every single one, miraculously, I backed us into a profitable position. Now, we're going to do an NFL preview for the postseason on our next episode. So that's going to be in a couple of days' time. So I don't want to talk too much about that. But I think one of my best accomplishments in betting over the last 11 years has been how I turned around those futures, because we were looking at a 7 to 10 unit loss based on what we put out in September. We would have recovered at least half of that through Donald Trump being elected as president, which doesn't pay out till January. And we then added futures here and there, and every single one of them hit. I will recap them on the show that I do where I actually preview the NFL, but it's been, as I said, one of my best achievements getting us out of that hole. And that's really how betting has been for me over the last 2-3 months. It has been a case of avoiding holes or getting out of holes. It's been a difficult season. I'm looking very much forward to a period where the Champions League is out of the way and teams definitely either prioritise cups or the league. They mostly prioritise the league, and the ones that really shouldn't, and this is a big problem in football, the ones that really shouldn't are the teams who are sitting in 8th to 13th position in the table, 8th to even lower, because I think the bottom 3 this year is very clear. With the 3 that came up, I believe will go down once again. I believe Wolves have improved too much. I don't think Palace will get sucked into it. West Ham are going to make the managerial change in the next 48 hours, which I believe will result in a bounce and away from this negative style of football. And it is going to be the same 3. As much as Ipswich have been competitive with bigger teams, as much as Leicester have been somewhat lucky with some of the results they've had, I still think those 3 will go down, and it will be the second year in a row. They're not seeing it at all, really, in the history of the Premier League. So there is obviously a gulf in class, and therefore that's why I feel that anybody who's 16th and above, all the way up to the teams who aren't really going for the top 4, they should be prioritising cup competitions. What's the difference between finishing 11th and 8th in the Premier League? It's a little bit of extra money. It's a little bit more money from the Premier League. It's not significant enough to warrant resting players for cup matches. I want to see teams this weekend being super serious about the FA Cup, because what we do see is teams being super serious when they progress in the competition. But you're not going to progress if you put out weakened teams and slip over a banana peel en route. So why don't you just begin from round 3? Yesterday we saw a semi-final where Newcastle beat Arsenal, and both teams fielded full strength side, because now they realise they cannot win the Premier League. Both of them, the best they can do is finish in the top 4. Obviously, we have the FA Cup starting this weekend. Newcastle aren't in Europe whatsoever, and there's not a great chance that Arsenal will realistically win the Champions League. So Mikel Arteta decided to take some of the pressure off himself by playing a full-strength team. Instead, he's under even more pressure because his full lineup got played and they got beaten, and he's in the media complaining about the change of a football. So sometimes it don't work out for you, but I expect something very similar tonight. Liverpool looking to bounce back from a draw, not a loss, against Manchester United. And I think they will. I think we're going to see a northern final in the EFL Cup. It's going to be Newcastle versus Liverpool. Tottenham's defence, whoever they put in, just cannot cope with whoever Liverpool play. I think if Liverpool are going to go strong with a lineup, it will be tonight, because you're looking ahead at trips to Nottingham Forest. You're looking ahead to a trip to Brentford. You're looking at the resumption of the Champions League. And for me, the only time where you can really field your strongest team in a cup competition would be now, when you have Accrington and Stanley on the weekend. That's a team you're going to beat whoever you put out there. So what game does Mo Salah, Van Dijk and I won't even say, I don't even want to say Trent, because I don't consider him in the same bracket as the other 2. But let's talk about Salah and Van Dijk. What game are they more likely to play in? Are they going to play in the FA Cup against Accrington and Stanley? Or are they going to play this very important game against Tottenham where you could get one foot in the final? Or are they going to have an entire week off? Are Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk not going to play until the Nottingham Forest game, which means they would have not played any football for 10 full days? I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we will see them tonight, and I think we'll see Liverpool get the job done away from home, just like we saw from Newcastle. And I think we are going to see that final between Newcastle and Liverpool, which should be a good one. And it's good when you get sides this size, when you have an Arsenal, a Newcastle, a Liverpool and a Tottenham in the semi-finals. I know some people will be saying it would be great for a smaller club to get there, and it is. But for a neutral, for a TV viewer, even as a United fan, it is better and more interesting when we do have these teams there. And part of the reason why that happens is because they do have the squad depth to rotate. And these teams who might play weakened teams for the FA Cup, when you're looking at your Brightons and your Brentfords and your Bournemouths, if they do that, they really shouldn't, because these are the type of teams who should be trying to win the FA Cup. As low down as Everton, you should be trying to win the FA Cup from the very beginning. And it's a pet peeve of mine. It's something that really annoys me, and it will annoy me again. I'm sure we'll see it again at the weekend, and it's going to make handicapping very, very difficult when you're trying to not just look at data and look at a team versus a team, but you're trying to guess team lineups. And this infuriates members as well over at Lock Betting when we have to actually turn around and say, I need to see these lineups. Now, if you could take a guess as to who may take it seriously, you're in a very good position, because the odds are really priced up. The way the odds are priced up is kind of a halfway house. They're expecting some rotation, but they don't go whole hog with rotation. So if you can get a halfway house price with a team that go all in, you're in an excellent position. Or it can go the other way. If you try and bet halfway house and think you're getting a good price, and then suddenly you see 11 changes, you're in a poor position. So it can work both ways. I'll be trying to navigate that. I'll be trying to swim through these waters this weekend as we look ahead to the FA Cup, and then the Premier League will return next week. That's it for me and this episode of K100 Sports. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.